So Clue, Leon Morris, whoever you are, you have decided to squash this whole beef, right? And for the reasons that you said, it just doesn't make any sense. The first thing that I want to address is you tried to say that I got myself involved in whatever you and Spray was having, when that was not the case. I wasn't the only black woman on the panel. I wasn't the only one giggling and laughing, right? I even said, I don't know anything about that. I'm not touching that. I even said that. But for some reason, you still wanted to go after me, right? So you went after me with your little comments. I went back, said what I needed to say. Everything that I said in my first video, it's not like you haven't already heard. But for some reason, when I said what I said, apparently that's the line that's crossed. When Chronic and Sparrow have been saying it for years now. You then scrolled through my Instagram and found my man, right? That's a family member. So you posted him in your stories and then you said people in glass houses. I then made a video saying, come after me personally and do not go after a family member. That is what I said. You were the first one to get personal. It was not me. You still went after my family member. So I scrolled and I went after yours. Family member for family member. And that's where it should have stayed. But it didn't. You then mentioned my mother's name and you thought that I was going to back down. That is what you thought. But you didn't know who I was and who my family is. So you thought that doxing me and putting all my information out was going to deter me from actually going toe to toe with you. And it wasn't. I even did a couple of lives and I said, come on live. Come on live, let's squash it out. For some reason, you don't like to talk to people face to face. What you do is you like to do your YouTube videos because that's how you eat. So whatever that wasn't really genuine, was it? At the end of the day, you came for two of my family members, my mother and my man. And then you decided to take it even further and you went to my dying mother's house. So I'm going to need you to start talking the things in chronological order and telling the truth. You went too far. Now all of a sudden I'm a female. Because you never had this energy for Spray. You never had this energy for Chronix. And Chronix has mentioned multiple family members of yours. So there's a pattern there that you have strength for women, a black woman, but you don't have strength for black men. Now all of a sudden, after this 2-3 day saga, you've now realised that I'm a woman. After you've outed my mum's name and threatened my mum with her location. And I'm just supposed to be okay with that. I'm just supposed to be like, oh yeah, no, that's fine, that's cool. No. Now all of a sudden you've had an epiphany that yes, you know, I'm an upstanding guy and I didn't mean to take it this far and all of these sorts of things. No, let's keep it 100. Yeah? Whoever is in your camp who is older than you or whoever it is told you to take my mother's address down. Yeah? They told you to take her location down and squash this shit. So I'm going to need people to start connecting the dots. It wasn't because he felt bad. It wasn't any of that. So let's not do this. You're trying to flip it like I've always gone after your father and that was not the case. So please don't do that. You came for my family, I came after yours, and it should have ended there, but it didn't. At the end of the day, I'm still going to be on my mission, and I know what I have to do. But just remember, you have given these people more ammo to tear a black woman down, right? And you have represented black men in that way. That is what you have done. I told you to come on live and squash it. And you said you didn't want to do that. You had conversations in the background that I am very aware of. So don't try to spin the narrative now all of a sudden you've just had a change of heart. No. You knew that I had more stuff on you, and you knew, and what you didn't bank on is people knowing my family. That is what you did not bank on. You didn't know who I was or who my mother was. Do you understand? And people told you to squash this shit because of who my mother is. Don't ever get it twisted. You are a one-man band, but I have 20 soldiers behind me. That is the difference. What I need to make crystal clear to people is that we asked him what the tone was, right? And we had a live and we said, what is the tone? You then decided to fling up people's locations and all of those sorts of things. And just now at 8 p.m, all of a sudden you've had a change of heart. And now you're asking us what the tone was. No. We've always asked you what the tone was, and you set the tone when you posted my mother's location. So what I want to make crystal clear to you is that we set the tone at 3:30, okay? And now you're coming up here saying that it's squashed and all of these sorts of things. But we asked you, and your tone was very different. So I don't want you to spin the narrative like you've been pondering on this all day. It was only 2 hours ago since you changed your mind or had a phone call with certain people because they told you not to mess with my family. That is what it is. You took your little shots and I let you have that. But I'm not going to let you spin the narrative like it was all on me, and it was not. Or like I started it first, and that was never the case. Moving forward, you can go back to doing what you're doing. I'll go back to doing what I'm doing. And to all of my supporters, I am truly sorry. I apologize for letting you down. I apologize that it went too far. But this was something that I had to do to learn and how to navigate. This genuinely was an awful experience, the worst experience I've had on social media. But I'm not going to hide my story. I'm not going to hide my mother. I'm not going to hide my family. And this just makes me more relatable. So I'm glad you know who I am, and I'm glad you know who my mother is. Big up, Diane. So moving forward, I will try and be a better Elaine, because I know that you have faith in me and I know you are banking on me. And I'm going to do the work and I'm going to be better. Love and blessings to you all. We go again next year.